Ok, togliamo questa trascrizione qua. Okay, so good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have with us Lorenzo Venuti, that is a colleague, is a friend. It's probably the in Italy you can't find any other historian expert as him on football and Hungary. He recently has published a book for the editor De Groutier, Hungary as a sport superpower, football from Horthy to Kadar, so from 1924 to 1960. But today I asked him to go a little bit more, to discuss with us a little bit more about contemporary Hungary, present Hungary, because I think it's interesting for our discussion to focus a little bit more on political leaders, and I think it's very interesting what Orban, the president of Hungary, is doing at the moment with sport. So I give you the floor, Lorenzo, and after your presentation, we will have a discussion with the students.
Thank you very much, Nicola. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much to have me in your class. It's a pity that I'm not able to be with you in person. I know that it's better in this kind of occasion, but unfortunately, it was the only possibility to have this class on this day. Yeah, I apologize for this, but I'll do my best in order to make the best class is possible and ask you to make your question, suggestion, and so on without any problems. One moment, one moment, I have to authorize the Teams in order to share my screen. Okay, great. Okay, one moment, I think I have to come out and then come back in order to give the permission to Teams. Sorry, one moment.
A brutta me li mandi e li carico io.
Okay, now I try to share my screen. Why this? Schermo intero. Ok.
Perfetto. Sì, adesso vediamo il schermo.
My presentation, I hope.
Sì, sì.
That's great. That's great. So, as Nicola already told you, it's not my topic of study, but I think it's really interesting and important. Try to give you some suggestion about how Orban and other Hungarian politicians use sport in order to improve their images in the country and build, in case of Orban, to reinforce the regime. The class, this lecture is structured in different kind of episodes that it's possible to focus on in order to give you some ideas about the political use of sport. Most football, have to be honest, and Orban. So we will discuss a little bit on history of Hungary in general to give you some really short knowledge about the history of Hungary. Then how Orban's government, since The second Orban government, so since 2010, used the sport in order to improve the image of his government and try to legitimize himself as the leader of a new Hungary that restart a new period of a new golden era of Hungarian football. It's a really interesting point 3 and 4 because it's how football or sport in general cross the problem of minorities, Hungarian minorities across Europe. There is a big Hungarian minority in Romania and another one in Slovakia, really important. And then the point 4, it's really, really interesting. It's how the football past it's used by Orban government in order to improve his image and so on. So for you maybe don't know, Hungary is this little green state in the middle of Europe. It's not so important in under point of view or economics or other kind of stuff. It all was owned by the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War. However, in sport history, it's kind of important state, both in the International Olympic Committee and in FIFA. Hungary, it's one of the most important state. It's not a founder, but it's an important and prestigious participant. A brief history of Hungary. Hungary was, during the 19th century, bigger than now. It's this big state that include Hungary, part of Romania, mostly Transylvania, Slovakia, more or less the southern part of Slovakia, and Croatia. Also include this little part, now it's Serbia, it's Vojvodina. It was the eastern half of the Habsburg Empire, and with the Ausgleich or Kiegyezés of 1867, Hungary reached the equality with Austria in the balance of the empire. However, as you know, maybe after First World War, things changed a little bit for Hungary. Hungary lost the war, and like Austria lost more or less all his empire. So a lot of territories reached new states. For example, Transylvania became part of Kingdom of Romania. Hungarian population there remained there. So now there is a big Hungarian population in Transylvania, in Romania, a little minorities group of Hungarians here in Slovakia, little bit in nowadays Ukraine, in Ruthenia, Vojvodina, and etc., etc., etc. As you know, after 1949, it was established the People's Republic of Hungary. Then sport became a tool in order to improve the image of the communist country, also in Western Europe, and the fact that during this era, Hungary reached the most success period of his football history, connect the success of Hungarian football also with this regime. Then, as maybe you know, in 1956 there was the Hungarian Revolution. 1/3 of the athletes at the Melbourne Olympics used this opportunity to escape in Western Hemisphere, in USA, in Australia, or in Western Europe, and to remain outside Hungary after the fact that the Soviet troops invaded Hungary too strong to break the revolution. This situation lengthened until 1989 with the Rend Szerváltás. So with the collapse of communist government and the establishing of new democratic government. The first Orban government was from 1998 to 2002. Then there would have been 8 years of socialist government, and then after 2010 there is the second Viktor Orban government that it's quite famous because Hungary really became different after this date. You can see here a little image of Orban that it's also really in love with football and amateur football player. So what is the main point of the Orban sport system? The fact is that after the collapse of communism, because a lot of different factors, not only the fact that a lot of important states emerged in football system and so on, but also because the collapse of communism provoked a difficult time for Hungarian football. Orban said that his government after 2010, it's the first that really reached for Hungarian football a new golden age. So under Orban government, he said now Hungarian sport is blowing again. It's again sport superpower. How they can do it? They can do it because they give a lot of money directly to the football or sport association in Hungary. However, there is no single sport system. All the clubs are polysportive, so all the clubs have together more than one sport discipline. Then used the TAO. TAO is the way in which the factories or the important owners can not pay all the taxes, but can pay their taxes, giving them towards a sport association in order to improve their balance. Next to this, there is an ambitious sport building program. We will see later a little bit of numbers of this program. And next, it's important to mention the fact that the Nemzeti Sport, so the equivalent of Gazzetta dello Sport for Hungarians, is owned directly by the Hungarian government. So it's a kind of pro-government newspaper nowadays, and we will see why I tell you this now. So we can see here a little map of Hungary. Each blue point, it's a city in which since 2010, Orban governments rebuilt a new stadium. New stadium rebuilt by using European monies or by using other means in order to build them. All this kind of city, Szombathely, Székesfehérvár, Szeged, Debrecen, Nyíregyháza, Diósgyőr, are city that didn't reach, I think, 100,000 inhabitants. So are quite few more than a big town, more or less. But all of this city now have a kind of new big stadium for football and other stuff. This map doesn't consider the stadium inside Budapest, inside the capital city. All the stadiums there are were be rebuilt in this period, from the NEP Stadion, nowadays Puskás Arena, as you can see, to the Božič Stadium, so the stadium of the Honved, and so on. So all these stadiums were rebuilt. Why? It's not only a fact that it's important because to reshape the image of Hungary and so on, but also because it's a way to finance the political apparatus of Orban. So Orban used the money from European Union and so on in order to give them to the construction companies that are owned by Orban Firenze itself. It's a clear case of using European fund in order to put money inside the party, more or less. You can see here a photo of the stadium in Felshut, the stadium of Puskás Academia, a minor football team established, I think, in 2011, I think, if I'm correct. Nowadays, it's a kind of important team because regularly reached European Cups, more or less European preliminary turn, at least. It's famous in Italy because Fiorentina confronted with Puskás Academia this summer and risked to go out with Puskás Academia. Quite amazing. However, Felshut, it's a little town. If I remember correctly, it's 2,500 inhabitants, something like this. And the stadium can contain, I think, 14,000 spectators. So it's impossible to fill the stadium with the inhabitants. It's quite impossible. It's a beautiful stadium, of course. Also, the Puskás Arena, it's a kind of really beautiful stadium. The problem itself, it's that this kind of cathedral are quite important, but for example, the situation of hospitals in Hungary is quite tremendous. So there is a little problem in the priority of the Orban government in this point of view. So we can speak now a little bit about the minorities. As I mentioned to you before, after First World War, a lot of Hungarians remained outside the border of the state. After First World War, however, situation was quite difficult because the situation of in this state, it was problematic because there was an irredentist movement and so on. It's a kind of complicated situation. After Second World War, part of these inhabitants were exchanged with other minorities inside Hungary. It's quite complicated. However, nowadays, there is a part of population in Transylvania, in Slovakia, and in Vojvodina with Hungarian heritage and Hungarian citizenships. Why? Because after 2010, Orban government gave to all the Hungarian people outside Hungary the right to ask for the citizenships without any problem. Nowadays, for the sport, Hungarian government give a lot of money in order to build football schools in these neighboring countries in order to give possibility to the Hungarian minority groups to improve in football and so on. There is also a Hungarian, more or less, official football club in Romania, is the SIPE. SIPE, it's a kind of good club in Romania, good quality level for Romanian championship. And you can see here Orban with the shirt of the SIPE, so with the shirt of the more or less Hungarian club in Romania. There is also a Hungarian club in Serbia, the Batska Topola, and an Hungarian club in Slovakia, so the DALK. You can see here a choreography atmosphere of the stadium. Here we are in Slovakia for a DAC match. It was a friendly match. It was DAC against SIPE. and the choreography of the supporter of the duck said, "We are not Hungarians from across the border, but infinitely Hungarian. So our Hungarian heritage, our Hungarian passion, and so on, it's infinity." It's important to mention that all these teams are owned by people really friendly with Orban. So there is kind of a possibility that the Hungarian government give money to these teams and so on. So, as I mentioned before, Nemzeti Sport, so the Gazzetta dello Sport Hungarian version, is owned by the Hungarian government. This led us to a little problem. How they connect with the problem with the minorities, with this problem of the Hungarian minorities. After 2010, together with the fact that the Hungarian government gave the citizenships towards these Hungarian groups, also the government established a national celebration on June the 4th. So the day of national unity, more or less. It's a little different because Összetartozás, it's not only unity, it's more connect with something of really strong feeling. It's a little different, but however, it's not important here. It's important to mention that for the 2020 4th of June, the Nemzeti Sport published a lot of stuff because it was 100 years after the Treaty of Trianon, with whom Hungary lost all the territories. For example, this beautiful, at least infographic. Beautiful because it's really, really interesting. It's the golden or Olympic medals stolen by other states from Hungary. Why? This is an infographic that show you where ethnically Hungarian players played and eventually won golden Olympics medals in their career. So you can see here, for example, a lot of athletes that were born outside Hungary decided to went to Hungary and to compete to Hungary, and they won Olympic medals for Hungary. However, for example, a lot of them played for Romania, a lot of them for Czechoslovakia, and someone also for Yugoslavia. It's kind of really, really interesting. There is no one that won something for Soviet Union. Nowadays, of course, it's Ukraine. It's not more part of Soviet Union. But it's kind of really, really interesting and lead us to a second point of the problem with minorities. When an athlete starts to play in this context, how can shows the national selection in which he can plays and etc. For example, you can see here the first page of Nemzeti Sport. I don't remember. Yeah, it was the Conference League of the last Conference League, maybe 2 editions ago, the Conference League, because it was Hungary against Serbia, and Hungary won with a goal scored by an athlete that was born outside Hungary in Serbia. So it's a fact that it's really, really underlined by the newspaper. It's something that has, of course, an impact outside also the Hungarian the governmental propaganda. For example, this is some picture that I took from internet. The group, it's Trollfozzi. It's the equivalent of other kind of group with little humor in football and so on. For example, it is an equivalent of Calciatori Brutti or Troll Football for English side. It's interesting, the first one. So the sentence is 7 Hungarian team can compete in international competition. Why? Because the first 4, of course, are Hungarian club that play in Hungary: Ferencváros, Kisvárda, Puskás Academia, Videoton. The other 3 teams are from ethnically background or city that were owned by Kingdom of Hungary before World War I. You have the SIPE, that it's the Hungarian football team that I mentioned to you before, the DAC, it's the same but for Slovakia, and the CFR, the club from Cluj, that honestly, in effect, was established by Hungarians before First World War. Here you can see another picture made from this group for the same 4 June of 2020. And the sentence, it's kind of important sentence in Hungarian. It's what a border can divide, the soul can unite. And you can see here, for example, the important football city of the previous Hungarian border that still for this picture are part or more or less of Hungarian sport world. Why? Because this is a part of a major point of Hungarian government. Nowadays, it's not more important to pursue, to try to convince that it's possible to the fact that these cities, these territories can come back to Hungary one day. It's impossible under all this point of view. However, it's important to point out, to highlight the real connection in soul and in heritage and in legacy of Hungary in this place, in order to preserve the Hungariness of this place and so on. This is what I mentioned before. So when one boy from Topolyai, so from a city that it's in Serbia nowadays, but originally was in Hungary before First World War, scored the goal of victory against the Serbs. So it's even better. So this is what I mentioned to you before. A person that it's ethnically Hungarian decide it's a good player. How can decide which team can join? There is a kind of problem, for example, in the case of Jory Daniel. Jory scored almost 5 years ago this beautiful goal against Ferencváros that awarded him with the Puskás prize. We can see here it's really, really fast. So it's a beautiful goal. I deserve to see. Okay. It's a kind of really, really beautiful goal, and it was before candidate and then awarded for the Puskás prize. Jory Daniel was born in Oradea, that you can see here really close to the Hungarian border, and it's a city that before Second World War was completely Hungarian. There was no Roman population there. There was a minority from Germany, but it's not important here. Oradea has also a name in Hungarian this day to Nagyvárad. So you can see here a picture in which I compare the two way in which the Nemzeti Sport, so the Hungarian sport newspaper, and Gazeta Sporturilor, so the Roman national sport paper, presented the fact that Jory Daniel was a candidate to win the Puskás Prize. The Gazeta Sporturilor titoled Un roman a castigat premiul Puskás. So an Romanian, an athlete from Romania, won the Puskás Prize. Here you can see how Nemzeti Sport celebrated the fact that Jory Daniel won the Puskás Prize, connect the young Hungarian player with all the famous picture of Ferenc Puskás that give the name to the prize and was, of course, as may you know, Hungarian. So it's a really different way to present. It came also a little dispute on this problem. Jory told that he has nothing against Romanians in general, but he feel himself Hungarian and would have been proud to be convoced, summoned for Hungarian representative and so on. The problem is, in fact, that there are tensions when there is this kind of stuff, not only for the Jory case, the Daniel Jory case, but also for other episodes. You can see here a banner for a football match between Universitatea Cluj and SEPSI, and in few words, Universitatea told that not in this banner, but there were also other banners that SEPSI, it's a hortista. So hortista, it's the equivalent of more or less irredentist against Romania football team, and SEPSI have to disappear from the football map of Romania. Other problems, for example, here, I cannot remember the name of this young goalkeeper. It was also a good goalkeeper from SEPSI, ethnically Hungarian, was convoced for a football match with the national football team of Romania. He went there without any problem. Then during the hymnus, during the anthem, he forgot to put the hand on heart, and sporting news started to attack him because it was traitor of the Romania and so on. So there is this kind of problem for sure. It's not only an invention of Hungarian propaganda in this point of view. Here you can see the reaction, for example, for a football match when the Slovakia government, the Slovakia Football Federation, prohibited to the Duck fans to show Hungarian flag during the match against Slovan Bratislava. Slovan Bratislava, it's kind of the football team symbols of Slovakianness and so on, and Hungarian football supported React in this way, so showing Hungarian tricolor and so on. There were also other examples possible with other sports. For example, 2 years ago, they had a big problem with hockey for the fact that in SIPE, part of the national football team of Romania started to chant the Transylvanian anthem that is considered part of the irredentist movement of Hungary and so on. So it's kind of chaotic, but it's kind of a really problematic part, and can also explain the position that Romania supporter also showed in other context also recently against other political position. So Ferenc Puskás, I mentioned to you before the great football player that the football prize was named after. Of course, Ferenc Puskás was a great football player. However, the regime, the Orban government now is playing an interesting game with his figure. He's playing an interesting game because Puskás nowadays is presented as the champion of the anti-communism movement. So yeah, he played for Hungarian government under communism, but he was not for sure sympathizer for communism. He tried to make the best in order to save other people, in order to sabotage more or less the regime, and so on. The climax was reached with Puskás, a musical in which there is, of course, the narration, this kind of narrative of Puskás as the great hero of the Patria without any without any problem. So I don't want to say that it's not true entirely. So there is a part of that it's for sure true. For example, Puskás was not communist at all. It's not in doubt this. However, this photo, it's from 1981. Puskás came back in Hungary almost 25 years that he abandoned the country after the Hungarian Revolution to escape to Western Europe, and he came back thanking the regime, and he thanked János Kádár to give him the opportunity to come back. So there is kind of a difference from a person that cannot have nothing in common with the past regime and so on. Also the fact that this I cannot prove, of course, and so on, but the fact that maybe it's interesting to point out that Puskás decided to escape, to remain in Western Europe only after the fact that Hungarian Football Federation banned him to play for 1 year. So it's possible that if the head of Football Federation didn't ban him, he also, as his teammate, could come back to Hungary. There is, of course, graphic novel on Puskás, a lot of books, also wrote by historian, soccer football journalist next to Orban himself. Of course, there is the football team, the Puskás Academia that was established in this period, and from it's a news. I think 2 days ago, the Orban government inaugurated the Puskás Museum inside the Puskás Arena. So inaugurated a museum for Puskás and for the golden team of the 1956. It's kind of confusing because the economics in Hungary now it's quite bad, but the government put a lot of money on this stuff. I'm sure I didn't have still the opportunity to go there to see the museum myself, but I'm sure that it's quite interesting and it's quite a good museum under of point of view. Some friends of mine collaborated with the museum, so I'm quite good at least a lot of information are quite good. However, it's interesting to notice that the curator, the head of the museum, it's Maria Schmidt. Maria Schmidt, it's not only an historian and the director of the Terror Casa, so the Casa del Terrore in Italian, House of Terror in English, I think, and it's a quite famous museum in Hungary. But also she is a prominent member of Fidesz, so the party of Viktor Orban. She is not a kind of second range member of Fidesz. Maria Schmidt attempted, for example, in 2006 to take the place of Orban at the head of the party after the fact that Orban lost the 2006 election and so on. So it's kind of important figure in Hungarian politics. So it's kind of interesting, and I will update you as soon as I come back to Budapest to see this interesting experiment. It's kind of really interesting. Of course, Orban during the inauguration said that finally, after the dark era of the communism and after the even darker maybe era of the change of regime, now Hungarian football recover its place in football movement in Europe. So he really tried to say that it's because of me. Now we are again a kind of sport superpower, a football superpower at least. I remember really the day after the victory of Hungary against Iceland for the qualification of in Euro 2016. So the first European tournament that Hungary participated after a lot of years, and they said it's all more or less thanks to the Orban government, and also they use the fact that the victory goals against Iceland was scored by Loic Nego. Loic Nego is naturalized from French. It's a black athletes. They said these are the immigrants that we want. So this kind of push the fact that they are not racist at all, because Nego after that he scored the goal, kissed the emblem of Hungary on his shirt and so on. So a lot of nationalistic, interesting fact. So an example of the difference, even little details of how Ferenc Puskás is presented in Hungary. This is the autobiography of Puskás, published first in 1955 in English, Captain of Hungary. This is the Hungarian version, Puskás Ferenc as Aranycsapat Kapitánya. It was the first edition because no one translated before of this edition, I think in 2010, maybe something like this book. I try to ask you, what is the difference in the cover of the books? Can you see any difference between them?
The position of name and the surname and the heart.
I cannot hear, sorry.
I see the communist symbol.
Yeah, the emblem. Yeah. It's quite clear. They put down the figure of Puskás in order to avoid to put the emblem of communism in Hungary Social Republic inside the cover. it's quite clear according to me. There's nothing strange. They only give more space to the head, the red flag, and so on. But it's quite evident, according to me. This. So they tried real to take away the figure of Ferenc Puskás from the context in which he played, and so on. So only few words, if you can allow me, about homophobia and racism in Hungary. As you know, after 2017, more or less, Hungarian government started a harsh campaign against gender and so on in Hungarian academia. They pushed away Central European University. They pushed out from the camp, from Budapest, and also they tried also to destroy the credibility of Hungarian Academy of Science. So one of the most important football player of Hungary declared his friendliness with LGBT community. Something started to appear. The football player is Peter Gulaci, important goalkeeper from Red Bull Lipsia. He played in Germany, I don't know, but for a lot of time. So he's really a product of Germanian football. In this post with his fiancée, say that love is love, everything it's okay. Why we have to discriminate anyone? After this episode in Hungary, exploited the polemics. Why? Because one of the football player of national selection of Hungary said this understandable, quite human words. For example, Zsolt Petri, who worked in Germany as well, said that disagree totally with the sentence that Gulaci said, and also the president of Hungarian Football Federation, Sándor Csányi, that it's really close to Orban, said that yeah, of course, Gulaci can have all his opinion on a lot of stuff. The important fact that he have to keep this opinion for himself. It's better to avoid to say this kind of stuff outside in public. Why? Because Hungarian team, it's homogeneous, it's strong because all can push together for the same scope and so on. If emerge some heterodox opinion or something like this, is a problem. Also, Orban said more or less the same. The controversy also exploited during Euro 2021, as maybe you remembered. You can see here the polemics around the Rainbow Stadium in Germany, and against in Hungary, they started to lightening the stadium with the Hungarian flag and so on, to contrapose towards the LGBT community and so on. Here you can see here a poster from Hungarian supporter with anti-LGBT tones. It's honestly, it's true that a lot of these people didn't and don't vote for Orban now, vote for some more extreme right-wing party. But it's true that Football Federation, with the agree of Orban, protect them, more or less, justify them. without any problem. Another case, quite famous, maybe you remember it about the take a knee before the football match. It became, of course, something really ritualic, really without any problems for a lot of person. In Hungary, it's a kind of problem. They take a knee. For example, once one of football player from Ferencváros, that is the most important football team of Hungary, comparable with Juventus in Italy, or I don't know, Manchester United in England for its football story. So something really important. One of their football player, after a goal scored, it was a black athlete, showed a shirt with the sentence "Justice for George Floyd," something that is kind of understandable in that period of time also. Not only the match after, the football supporters from Ferencváros showed this banner in which they said, no, you cannot take a knee, and white lives matter. So in contraposition against black lives matters. But also the Hungarian Football Federation ban for one game Tokmak for having brought politics inside the football pitch, more or less. Before the European Cup of 2021, also there was some problem because the Irish national team performing the take a knee before the start of the match, and the public, the supporters inside the Puskás Academia started to boo them, of course, for their perspective. In other sport, I would love to say that it's different, but the fact that these kind of association are not only in one sport discipline, but are polysportive. For example, there is a Ferencváros in water polo. There is the swimmers team of Ferencváros. There is the handball team of Ferencváros, and so on, made all more or less the sport discipline watched by the same person with the same more or less ideas about this kind of stuff. Of course, in football, it's more visible. It's impossible to hide this. Why the Hungarian cannot take a knee for Hungarian politicians? It was Orban himself that justified this position, because Orban himself, using more or less a poem from a national poet of Hungary, said that the Hungarians are free to kneel only before God, before the fatherland, so before the pater, before the anthem or something like this, and of course in front of the future wife, asking her hand, giving absolutely the impossibility to have a different sexual orientation or whatever you can imagine on it. So only to think about why this kind of stuff are important, because Orban, it's a smart politician. It's after the crisis of 2015, after the Syrian war and the migration crisis in Europe. It's a European level politician. So all of you, at least many of you would know who is Viktor Orban, more or less. You have the image in your mind of Viktor Orban. That's good. Few of you, for example, I think would be able to connect who is the president of Slovakia, that it's Fico, for example. Now it's more famous because they was shooted a few months ago, but nevertheless. So Orban, it's a kind of important politician in at European level. So he's the way in which he used the sport, it's not only in an internal way, so in order to legitimize himself, but also to give to the European auditorium a different perspective. And this is how he used, after the COVID, the full stadium episode. Maybe you remember that for Euro 2021, at one point there was some polemics about the how many spectators could enter inside the stadium to see the match, because COVID was still running, because there was the problem of allowing cross-border exchange between states and so on. So after all, Puskás Arena, that was inaugurated a few months before, announced that for the few football match that would have been played in Hungary, there would be allowed full stadium for spectators. So capienza piena. So all the seats would have been available for the sale. If you remember, there was a lot of problem at Wembley for the final, because they said maybe we can allow the 0.5%. Then they said maybe we can reach the 60%. So they tried to avoid this problem. And if you remember, also there was the rumors about the fact that maybe they could exchange the match between Wembley and Budapest, and maybe why not play the final game in Budapest itself. They saved the salvable, so Wembley remained the place for the final match. It was good, but why Orban tried to use this stadium to show the difference between the COVID, how Hungary managed the COVID in front of how England or the rest of European Union managed the COVID? Maybe you cannot remember now, but Hungarian government polemized a lot against how Ursula von der Leyen made politics for the distribution of the COVID test, the anti-COVID vaccine in 2021. So polemized because all the procedure was centralized, and decided to use not only the European Pfizer, AstraZeneca vaccine, but also to use Sputnik from Putin, and also Sinovac from China. So Orban was saying more or less, you can see now, you have to trust the China and Russia that helped me. You have to follow a different way of European integration, union, and so on. It was an attempt, at least, and if you remember, many journalists and so on, not not for Orban in politics way and so on, really plowed towards the Puskás arena full of spectators and so on. So one last slide in order to give you some possible tips or some point to have a little debate later. What is the next steps for Orban? At the moment, no one care about in sport world about what Orban said or what he is doing in Hungary for sport. They plowed more or less to how Orban managed the sporting affair in Hungary. I have to say that when with Professor Svetti, we spoke a little bit in the first days of Paris Olympics about how Orban react to the first day of Olympics with the great show in Paris and so on. I said Orban is quite it's quite. He said nothing strange and so on. He awaits that the Olympics finish, and then 2 weeks later, in an interview on Olympics affair, said a lot of really rude things about how French managed the Olympics affair and the fact that there was too LGBT plus propaganda, etc., etc., etc. I put this one because a few years ago, as you remember, maybe Giro d'Italia started from Hungary, so there was no problem to give the starting of Giro d'Italia to a kind of country with no great cycling tradition and with disputable ideas on a lot of stuff, but these two are the most important things right now. So Orban made a lot of stadiums, infrastructure and so on with two main targets. The first one is the male final of Champions League, because Orban already obtained to host the female final of football of the Champions League a few years ago, and now he obtained for 2026 the final of Champions League to be held in Budapest. So the most important football event for club will be hosted in Budapest, and Orban already claimed this great success. But the greatest target is still the Olympic Games. Hungary tried to host Olympic Games several times. They tried for the first Olympic game, for example, to enter if Athens would have not be able to host it. They tried for the 1960 games that they were later in Rome. They tried also for the 2024 Olympic Games, but decided then to announce to it. Now again, Orban announced a referendum to propose officially the candidature of Budapest to host the 2036 Olympic Games. Budapest, he said, already had a lot of infrastructure. It's a beautiful city with a lot of stuff. It's the opportunity to show a compact and strong nation that pursue this objective. Of course, it's only an idea, but the fact that there is already a Facebook page on this future possible Olympic Games, and the fact that already they tried to show to the auditorium, to the publicum, to the people of Hungary the importance to go to the referendum and vote to host the Olympic Games. It's a kind of referendum for his government, because now there is a little trouble in Hungarian politics, because it has emerged a possible antagonist to Orban, but it's not important to this, but also to reconnect his dream to host the Olympics with the important dream of Hungarian people to finally have Olympics Games in Budapest. Of course, really different, full of stuff, full of details from the Paris Olympics that ended a few weeks ago. So thank you very much for your time. I know that it was quite chaotic. I would like to give you a broader perspective, but I hope you discover something new and something useful for your class, at least.
So thank you, Lorenzo, for your enlightening presentation. I think just before giving the floor to the students for the question, I just want to point it out some element that in somehow we have touched, or we are going to touch tomorrow, because tomorrow the students have to read a paper on Colin Kaepernick and the impact that he has his protest in the United States, and so when Lorenzo was speaking about taking a knee, the article that you're going to read tomorrow, that you have already read, is exactly about how this gesture was born, and then we will discuss tomorrow how this gesture evolved. But I think this presentation was very important also to underline the fact that through sport we can send, the government can send a political message, and through sport banal nationalism, a topic that we have already discussed, can spread in a quite successful way. But before, I don't want to take too many time, and so if there are any question that you wanted to ask to Lorenzo, any clarification, any curiosity, or even some consideration that maybe you can find about your experience and the one in Hungary, feel free to ask. Okay. Let's see if you can listen. Otherwise, I have to ask you.
Here.
Senti?
A little bit.
Aspetta, dobbiamo fare. Try to speak loud, yeah? Otherwise, you have to.
How Hungary is so closely related to Romania and Slovakia, and why we discussed them so much. I mean, like, why their football teams are related to Hungarian?
Hai capito?
No, ho capito solo Romania.
Esatto, se puoi diciamo recuperare un po' il discorso sul perché diciamo il calcio entra in gioco con le minoranze rumene e slovacche, magari se gli fai rivedere la slide, quella in cui insomma facevi vedere di com'era l'Ungheria prima, e quindi
Of course,
we have some students from Kazakhstan that maybe don't study too much European history, so it's possible that
no, for sure. It's quite important to clarify this. Maybe it would have been better if I focus more on this topic. So thank you for the question. The fact is that before World War I, Hungary was part of the Habsburg Empire. Habsburg Empire was a big state in which there were Austrian half. It was composed by Austria, Bohemia, and Moravia, part of Germany, and so on. And this big state, it was the Kingdom of Hungary. The Kingdom of Hungary was a strange state in which Hungarians were few less than half of population. There were a lot of people not Hungarian inside the Kingdom of Hungary. The problem is that the population was not divided according to clear borders. For example, Kolozsvár, nowadays it's called Cluj in Romania. It's a city in which there was half of population Hungarian, little part German, a lot of Jewish population, but the Romanian are all around the city because a lot of farmers and so on were Romanians. This part of Hungary, it's really strange. Nowadays, it's in Romania, of course. It's really strange because it was really compact Hungarian, but it was an Hungarian different from Hungarian properly because it's another kind of population that speak Hungarian because was integrated inside the Hungarian kingdom, but maintain their different roots. And it's called Szekely or Szikuli. This part is complete Hungarian in language, but was given to the Romania because all this part of the territory was given thanks to the Treaty of Trianon after World War I to Romania. This brought a lot of people that were Romanian towards Romania, and it's good. The problem is that in Cluj, in this part of Romania, in this part in which there is a big Serbian minority also next to Hungarian and so on, now became minority inside a multi-ethnic state in Romania. And these people remained there. These people remained in Romania during interwar era. Then their son grew up as Hungarian in communist Romania. And nowadays they are Hungarian and Romanian citizen. Then they decided if they can come back to Hungary or remain there is no problem. Often these people are bilingual. It's not so impossible. There are a lot of mixed weddings and so on. Why the Romania it's so adverse? I bring you a lot of examples from Romania. It's true, few from Slovakia. This is also because Hungarians recognize the fact that there had been an autonomous Czechoslovakian, nowadays Slovakian movement. So the heart of all the Czechoslovakia sport was Prague. And in Prague, they established, of course, a football team without Hungarian roots. So they more or less respect the Hungarian, not Hungarian heritage there. With Romania, things are a little different because in the first years of after the First World War, national sport of Romania was not football for Romanians, was rugby. So who played football there? Hungarians played football and German population. So they considered more or less the roots of football in Romania Hungarian more in this way. So there is a lot of tension also because the Hungarian minority in Romania, it's big. It's kind of, nowadays too, it's kind of big population. in Slovakia, it's kind of now there is no big minority group, because after Second World War, they exchanged the between Hungarian and Slovakian population in order to create a kind of national state, and etc., etc., etc. So yes, this is why, and also because from Slovakian perspective, there is no big problem except for the match between Slovan Bratislava and some football team from Hungary or from Hungarian minority. From Romania, there is a lot of problem because Romanian hooligans are really close to the far right, are really against, they really believe that Hungarians are traitors that are ready to sell the country and come back to Hungary and so on. So there is a lot of problems, and this is connected, of course, with a different attitude of also the ultras movement, the hooligans movement in Romania. It's really, really important and big, and Slovakia, in which there is one big team, Slovan Bratislava, and the other are not so important or historical. So there is a lot of tension for these reasons. Nowadays, there is still a big Hungarian minority in Transylvania, and next to this, there is a lot of possibility in which football team between, there are many Hungarian football team that can mix it with, can confront against Romanian football team and so on. I hope I answered your question more or less.
Yes, thank you.
And speaking about the Romanian football supporters, the Romanian hooligans, do you remember when we discussed about them and their nationalist approach? Was just a picture about the news, no? With Kosovo, the Kosovo match, when they said they chanted Kosovo is Serbia, and the Kosovo team went out of the pitch. Other question you want to ask to Lorenzo? Yes.
This part, can you hear me?
Or you can come here.
I can hear pretty well this. I don't know why.
Go.
I was wondering if Orban government ever gets replaced, what do you think will be the legacy of these like sports-based nationalism?
It's an interesting question. I think all the infrastructure and so on they built in this era will remain without any problem. I think that all the infrastructure they built outside Hungary, in the place in which there is a Hungarian minority, will remain. Will remain because after Orban government, all the new possible government will keep this nationalistic attitude towards the minority group and so on. I hope that in case Orban will leave and new Hungary will establish and so on, at least a little more attitude towards the Hungarian past and also sporting past, and about the LGBT against policies will disappear as soon as possible. So I think that it's true that now Hungary is living a second, not golden age at all, but good result era of sport. They are happy to host all the World Swimming Championship possible and so on. They have all the infrastructure. They already had a lot of stuff also before Orban governments and so on. They eventually will have built all this stuff even without, maybe not 35 stadium in the last 10 years and etc. But in any case, they will spend without any doubt positive attitude towards sport. So I think that at least with a different government, sport will be used in a different way. So they will use to show how Hungary is well integrated inside the European context, or inside in this different framework. Because now sport is used to underline in one point how Hungary works well. So we have to host a lot of tournaments, championships, and so on, to show you how Hungary is well established now, how the government made a lot of stuff for sport and so on, and to differentiate from European Union and to show a different approach, a different possibility from Brussels and so on. So I think that the mass movement, etc., all the place they built for mass movement of sport and so on will remain. This is a legacy of this period, because Orban government made it, not only the stadium of Honved or the Feldshut Stadium, but built a lot of stuff also for mass movement and so on. Then it's possible that at least the most political attitude will disappear soon after an eventual collapse of Orban government. Collapse that nowadays I see really difficult to happen.
To be fair, now Olivia that asked the question, she's from Poland, and probably there are some similarities in the use of European funds to build sport infrastructure. No, so of course Poland is a more democratic government in somehow, but the use that a lot of East European government, whatever the politics of the government is, they have invested and they have used the opportunity that the European funds offer in order to build sport infrastructure, not only the big stadium, not only the great cathedral, sporting cathedral in the capital, but also more sports infrastructure around the country. Something that probably Italy in particular, because if we look at other countries that are founder of the European Union, the situation is completely different in France, in Spain, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and so on, in Germany. That the sports infrastructure are quite new. In Italy, we can see like there is a kind of problem in building a new sports infrastructure, and even to use potentially European funds to build sport infrastructure. Any other?
May I say a word on this, Nicola?
Vai, dopo sentiamo una
Yeah. No, the fact is that when someone in Italy said you cannot touch that stadium because it's a monument or whatever, they said, okay, we have to save and so on. When someone said to Orban that NEP Stadium, so the old national stadium of Hungary, was a monument, they have to save them and so on, they said, no, okay, I don't care that I destroy him without any problem. They rebuilt a new beautiful stadium, the Puskás Arena. So it's a kind of also how much you listen towards your auditorium, you care about what the opposition said about stuff and so on, maybe.
So in this point, even Orban has done good thing, we can say.
Honestly, the stadium was collapsing, but someone said, no, it's not true. I'm not an architect. I cannot say if it's true or not. They said it's collapsing. We have to destroy him without any problem, and say we cannot save nothing from them. We have to destroy it.
Yeah, Asia?
I wanted to ask how the international public opinion reacted to the Hungary hosting the Champions Cup of 2026, and if it's a realistic thing that Hungary could host the Olympics in 36.
So thank you very much. This question allow me to show an important point. Orban really don't care about what is the international reaction towards his words or his act. Don't care because, as you may know, Hungarian it's a quite of different language from other European languages. It's not the same family of Italian, German, and so on. It's a really different language with not in common. So the possibility that someone read in English the reaction to Orban attitude and so on are really, really few. Only people that maybe are read against Orban. So Orban don't care about what they wrote about him or whatever outside Hungary. If you write this in Hungarian, it's problematic, of course, but if you write in English, there is no problem at all. So about the reaction of 2026 male Champions League final, all people are happy. Infantino went to Budapest to inaugurate with Orban the Puskás Museum and said it's beautiful, it's amazing. You made a lot of beautiful stuff for Hungary and football itself. So from the main person, the main managers of football world or sport world, there is no interest in condemn what Orban said or what Orban is doing. Also because Orban is kind of a smart guy. Honestly, he said only a few things in Hungarian, often not translated in English, and said nothing more that Hungarian Football Federation made something good, banning Tokmak for one turn because he take a knee. Not condemn Tomac or something like this. It's kind of a smart guy. He knows how to say and what say when. As I mentioned, in during the Olympics, he really didn't say anything about Olympics. Said if French people like this kind of stuff, it's good. We don't care. We prefer other things about the starting ceremony of the Olympics and so on. I meant. So I think really there is honestly no one that opposed towards the fact that the final of Champions League will be in Budapest in 2026. Already the final of Europa League was in Budapest a few years ago. The final of female football, the female Champions League was there, so there is no problem for anyone, even from the opposition to Orban. It's a beautiful thing for they. The stadium it's beautiful, so why not? About Olympics, Olympics will be a problem because they will build a lot of stuff in case the Olympics will be hosted in Budapest. It's possible. So Budapest, it's a city that it will be able to host the Olympics. According to me, it's not problematic. The fact is that Hungarian economy is quite in difficulty now. Hungary has not euro, as may you know, has forint. Forint is a kind of weak coin, a weak money. it's under infraction right now, quite several problem. So I think that it's no way in which Orban can promise to build, I don't know, a new Olympic stadium of in the heart of Budapest or something like this, a beautiful Olympic town in the center of Budapest or something like this. It's true that Orban also depend on building factories on these kind of activities. So for him, it will be a splendid opportunity to use the money that flow for this occasion to Budapest to spread his party to connection with party members and so on. So for sure, it's a great opportunity for him. Also for him in history. After that, communist regime tried to host Olympic Games and failed. After that, Hungary during Habsburg Empire. So when Hungary was a power state of Europe, tried to host Olympic Games and failed. Orban, one person born outside Budapest that came from countryside, would be the first, in case, politician who obtained the Great Olympics game for Hungary. It's something that really can stimulate him to work on it. It's difficult. It's really difficult. It's quite impossible for me, but they already tried in 2024, and they will try, according to me.
And also there is the concurrence of Istanbul and India that are challenging, and we will see they are new. Any last question? Yeah. Francesca.
Questions. First of all, regarding homophobia and racism, I was wondering, do Hungarians agree with and support Orban's statements? Or like, what is the public response to Orban's government?
It's difficult to answer this question because when I lived in Hungary, mainly in Budapest. Budapest, it's almost 2 million city, but it's only 20% of Hungary. So in Budapest, no. In Budapest, there is no problem with the LGBT community. There is support more or less for them. There is a kind of agreement on this. I think no one, except for hooligans of Ferencváros or hooligans of football in general, agree with this stance. The problem is outside Budapest. The problem is that Hungary is a Christian state with a really pillar on this anti-gender idea, and a lot of also young people believe more or less that what Orban made in anti-gender is to save Western from Western idea. They really try to propose themselves as against the decadence of Western values. We have to recover our Western values, preserve what made us great. I don't know how much. A lot of people don't care, simply, but the fact that don't care amplify, according to me, the fact that they accept it. So they said, okay, I'm not gay, I'm not lesbian, I'm not trans or whatever. Who cares about the fact that they say in our school that be in this way, it's not normal or whatever. So yeah, there is this idea, maybe the legacy of communism in some way, that if I'm not touching first person, I can ignore it. At least it's my answer.
Okay, and then I was also wondering if
the Hungarian Revolution of 1956 influenced the national sports dimension, and if yes, in what ways?
Yeah, I cannot prove it because no one can, but for sure, yes. Not because 1/3 of Olympic delegates escaped after Melbourne Olympics, not because 3 of the members of the Golden Team, Ferenc Puskás, Zoltán Czibor, and Sándor Kosic, escaped in Western Europe after the collapse of the revolution, but because 2,100 people escaped from Hungary after 1956. Many of them young, many of them with good sport skills, many of them really started again to play, to reach and to give their skills outside Hungary and so on. However, it's important to mention that the real collapse of Hungarian sport system is with the end of communism. So it's the 90s era. You can see there a lot of strange stuff like Parmalat, Videoton, this kind of sponsored made team infiltration by mafia and so on. So it's the aftermath of communism that really broke the Hungarian sport system, and now it's recovering because the transition from communism is its end, more or less.
Very quickly from Guido, then we have to close.
Grazie, Nicola. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lorenzo, for this very, very insightful overview of the context. Really grateful for all of this. One addition, one consideration. It's not only about countries like Hungary attracting events like the Champions League final or the plans for the Olympics. Wanted to also highlight what's going on with World Athletics, with World Aquatics and International Swimming Federation. So a new interim office opened in Budapest, and the objective is to complete the move by 2027. So I'm based here in Switzerland, and I know people working at World Aquatics, and they've been asked to move from Lausanne to Budapest, and that's a very important step that also involves also the governance, the direct governance of the country. I was very curious also to look at the profile of the president of the Hungarian Football Association, and I could notice that he's a member of the UEFA Executive Committee, is a member of European member of the FIFA Council, very well connected with international federations. And just one question for you, Lorenzo, if you are aware of any initiative or any voice at the European level, Council of Europe or European Union or whatever, highlighting, this kind of use that Orban is making of sport and yes, raising voice around it.
Thank you very much, Will, for your ad. It's precious what you said. It's true, of course. I focus mainly on football and so on for my research, but it's true. It's true what Orban has made on water federation. The fact that Budapest, I think, hosted the 2 water championship, world championship in a row. So something really strange happened. In this way, I knew few about it, but for sure it's an important fact. About European level, I think no. I think there is no initiative on so on, because Orban spent money from European Union and so on to build sport infrastructure that it's one of the important facts for European Union. So he used the money of the European Union for what European Union said, using them more or less against the European Union. But it's more complex than this. It's difficult to say that you cannot do it or you made something wrong, because they really follow the rules. They are smart people, not some kind of Trump approach or something like this. They are really smart. They focus on their topic and their target and really follow their points in order to be difficult to say you made something wrong. At least it's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lorenzo, for your presentation and for the discussion. Just a very quick suggestion. Guido, who takes the floor now, works at the Center for Sport and Human Rights in Lausanne. If you are interested in like association that works in focusing how to defend the human rights in sports organization in international sport, this is a website that can be very interesting, but we are going to discuss about it more in detail the 17th of December. So thank you again. Grazie, Lorenzo. Thank you for the attention and for the question, and I'll see you tomorrow at 11 with the presentation of HM and Oga, and we will discuss about athlete activism. So some of the consideration that Lorenzo has done with the Hungary case, we are going to restart from them. Takes some of these examples to discuss a little bit how sport activism can be used, and of course how this concept of sport neutrality can be used politically by government. Lorenzo, ti volevo chiedere un'ultima cosa. Mi mandi poi le slide così gliele carico e hanno comunque un riferimento senza fretta, insomma.
Sì, senza nessun problema.
Ok, grazie mille. Aspetta che blocco.
Grazie mille. Thank you very much to everyone. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Allora, staccati pure. Bye. Allora, yeah.
Grazie.